What is going on, guys? This is Crazy Pickle, and this is the third episode of the Beginner's Guide series. So today we're gonna talk about symbols. So in previous video I told you your main goal will be go through the provinces. So you just keep completing the provinces, unlock the bastions, right? The one thing that I want to mention that when you finish your first two provinces, which include some kind of a storyline, so until that, to the last storyline quest will be in Nerian's castle. So let's say you progress in few provinces. Let's just go for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's say you just halfway there. So what you need to do, you keep accepting the quests from the bastions, keep completing them, and every time you reach your specific amount of number, I believe it's supposed to show it here. That way it will allow you to unlock the next symbol. So let's say the first Bastion has all the different kind of emblems. Of course, you will get the emblems of pain in the beginning through the tutorial. It's kind of good for the single target. So let's say you fight in a boss, and in the beginning it's really kind of not as bad symbol as gonna be in the future. So the most popular will be emblems of destruction for your full DPS setup. Let's say if you're playing a tank, it could be emblems of mercy or emblems of protection. It's every player has a different preferences, so somebody can pick up emblems of protections, which gives you which gives you shield, and it absorbs damage for up to 10% of your total health. So it means more health you have, more damage it will absorb. Kind of pretty cool thing too. Let's say if you as a tank, you tank in a boss and your group doing a lot of damage, and the boss drops that emblems of protection. So you just keep running, pick it up, keep your boss on, keep the aggro, and pretty much you'll have that shield pretty much for the rest of your fight, I would say. Depends how much damage your group does to the boss or any other enemies. Some of them would prefer emblems of mercy if, let's say, they have really high survivability against the boss, and every time your group does a lot of damage, so it drops those emblems of mercy. And it not only restore health to you, but it also restore health to the most wounded member in your group. So that's kind of pretty cool. So you kind of support yourself and support other members in your group. So that's kind of two good symbols for tank, for the defense class, I would say. Maybe even for the support too. But for your full DPS, the most popular will be emblems of destruction. So let's say, and you just keep receiving it. You finish the quest, you keep receiving it. The one thing I would say that I wouldn't really much rush to complete like just one bastion, just finish it up and just, let's say, stop like maybe emblem when you get the emblems of destruction, since in the beginning you just gonna play full DPS, which is will be maybe your cryo, so you're gonna use that. So let's say then second bastion gives you a few kind of a passive so yeah, it's gonna be like 4 passive symbols, which is the first one, of course, you can use it in the beginning. When you unlock it, it just does the damage to the enemies. So every time your next I believe that I think when you dash, it's kind of like throw something. Um, I don't know. It it just that symbol it's not really important. So I mean you can use it in the beginning just to kind of get the extra bonus, extra the damage to the target and all enemies around them, as you can see. But im- but most important that you want to get, it's going to be emergency maneuver dodge. So I would say, like in the first bastion, you're going to focus just to get emblems of destruction in the beginning. Then your second bastion, you can stop on emergency maneuver dodge, which every time, so you have a 24-second cooldown on that. So every time you use your dash, you get you get a shield for 4 seconds, which you're gonna be immune to damage and control effects. It's also this is the really good. This is the most popular too, so everybody's using that. Let's say the third one, you will definitely gonna have divine intervention. So pretty much the rest of symbols, you're not gonna use them for. I don't know. Well, these two and this, it's just they are kind of useless now. So it may be these two, but the divine intervention is the most popular, of course. That is really good too. So it's, as you can see, for every 10 health, for every 10% of your health lost, you gain an effect that it reduces incoming damage by 40%. And it's also duration of the effect is 6 seconds. It's kind of good. I mean, if you get every time the hits that it takes 10% of your health, then it probably gonna you might have that every time. You might gonna have that buff every time. So you will have pretty much every time by incoming damage, and reduced incoming damage by 40%. But everybody's using divine intervention, so as you can see, it's also if you get a hit, then 10% or more of your health, so you become immune, damage, and negative effects for 4 seconds. And of course, the cooldown for that is 70 seconds. And the fourth, that's kind of good in the beginning. Pain shock, it also just for the single target. So every time it pops like on a screen, and you push your E key, and it will just kind of like your companion gonna shoot the light into that target that you actually targeting. In this bastion, so I would say that this, and so the first symbol, second symbol, and the last symbol, my opinion, they well, you're not gonna use pain shock when you get to the hunt technique, unless you just prefer use that all the time. But what hunt technique does, it enhanced version of class abilities are triggered more often. What it means that each class, well, not each class, I would say most of the classes have the ability that with specific damage. So when you do specific amount of damage to the target or to the group of enemies, on the left side, let's say the Cryomancer, right? So let's say you fighting against bunch of enemies, or the boss. Let's say you fighting a boss, right? So every time if you do specific amount of damage, so that IC comment will kind of pop on the left side of your screen, and so it will, and it's gonna be free, so it's not gonna consume the energy to use that ability. So it will pop here, and you can click key 1, and it will does twice as much damage as the regular IC command. So that's what Han Technique does, right? As you can see here, I'm using that. So every class who has that ability that it pops with specific amount of damage you do, it increase that. So that ability will pop more often. So you will be able to kill enemies as fast with that ability. So this is kind of new symbol, and it's a really good one. Okay, so what's next? Oh my god, I already confused myself. Yeah, so this is gonna be your, I would say in this Bastion you can just finish that Bastion right away. It's as long as you kind of somewhere here, if you're not finished all provinces yet. That reflective barrier is really good also for the tank, but sometimes depends on the mission you do. And let's say like Avatar, which is the highest content in this game, and each invasion have the big boss that you need 10 people. There's a mechanic strategy you have to figure out and all that, so it's crazy fight. And some of the invasion bosses you can use that even if you are DPS class or support class, because sometimes the bosses, they have special abilities when they use that it does a lot of damage to you. So in that way you can protect yourself, so you're pretty much immune to any damage for 8 seconds. Kind of really good, but most of the time tanks using that when you tank in a big boss, and let's say you don't have your shield on a cooldown and you just can pop that, it also pops on the screen. The protective dome is pretty much 12-yard radius, and it's like you will see like a big dome will pop. You're just gonna stand on one spot, like holding some kind of a thing in your hand, and the dome will appear, and everybody who's inside, the damage will be reduced, I believe, by 60%. So it's also helpful, but you're not gonna use that very often if you like doing some small content missions and all that. Usually it depends on a mission you use. If you can use that you're not going to be attacked or something like that, then yes, you can use that. But most important going to be your hunt technique. So I would probably focus on that if you somewhere in the middle in provinces, because you can accept unlimited amount of quests in Bastions. So you just keep receiving the quest and keep finishing receiving the quest, and so on and so on. But since we picked up like 5 provinces at the moment, so your 5th province, your main symbol will be Berserker mode. It's my opinion. I mean, I'm using the Berserker mode every time. I mean, just for the DPS classes. Some of the symbols, actually, there is support mode, which your companion, as you can see, it says companion's basic attack are replaced with support mode. In this mode, the companion has a certain chance to boost a random ally in 20-yard radius when impulse charge is activated. And I believe the impulse charge, it's, as you can see here, on the right side of my health bar, there says it shows 3 dashes, and there's above that, this is your impulse charge. So there you go here. It's just so it boosts in it increases damage by 20%, and it's completely random. It can, if you with a group, it could apply on your group member, or it can apply on you. If you doing missions by yourself, whatever you do, it of course gonna apply only to you. So this is the defense mode. It's opposite. It also applies in the random if you're in a group, and it put the shield, which is reducing incoming damage by 50%. If you're by yourself and let's say you have troubles to kill a boss or whatever, you can use that, and that will apply the shield just to you because you do that specific mission by yourself. But for your DPS, it will be Berserker mode. It's a must. It just kind of does extra damage during specific attacks. Really good. It's like if you look at the like a battle history, all the or abilities and all that, so it will see the Berserker mode, how much damage it did to the enemy. But yeah, so you just keep going through the provinces, unlock different symbols. Let's say in Tisiphone, I believe that's what it's called, your will be reactive materials or awakening of power. So these two, everybody using some people using awakening of power, some people using reactive materials. They both good symbols, so you can focus on that. Bastion too. Belonia, your I don't know, that's kind of like a hard, I would say, hard to tell which one. I mean, these three, I mean, not as good. Pretty much Black Mark or Stolen Energy. But since the Stolen Energy it's a new, some people kind of switch from Black Mark to the Stolen Energy, which just applies the shield and absorbs 8% of your the damage of the character's maximum health. So again, more health you have, more damage it will absorb. And it's I think like for 3 or 4 seconds. The Black Mark increases the damage of the next attacks used against the affected target. So it's like, let's say it's a health bar, and you will see underneath the same symbol underneath the enemy's health bar. So the next attack will be does twice or maybe even more damage. So it actually says additional damage that can be inflicted using this effect cannot exceed 15% of your health. So it's pretty much, again, the more health you have, so 50% from your health, well, that's not bad, I would say. But yeah, some people just using Stolen Energy even as a DPS class. And Philomenes, I don't know if I pronounced it right, it's pretty much your divine weapons. These three, it's really good. These three divine weapons, it's really good. So I would say, I mean, in the beginning you can use that first for some time, and then when you want to move on, you can just get to the Nerean's hammer, which is much better than that. It has like area damage attack or just a single target, so you can just complete that Bastion all the way to the last and just use the hammer, Nerean's hammer. The Mitarka stuff, it's just a support divine weapon, so usually players using that during like distortions run or avatar, you just use the specific ability on that staff that it applies the shield to the group of people who's in specific radius from where you stand in, I would say. I believe it's, I don't think it's even if it says, No, I don't. Yeah, I don't see it. But you should be close to the person who actually used that, and it says the last barrier ability consumes the remaining energy and makes all allies invulnerable for 6 seconds. After that, they will not be able to receive the same effect for 40 seconds. So if every 40 seconds you can use that. Really good in a group missions if it's like a lone fight mission and you have to protect a group of people. The only one thing that well, actually there is no other thing, because we had a 9 event and it was like upgrades for all the 4 divine weapons. It's kind of like upgraded version of that, but since if you're a new player, you're not gonna have that, so you will have just a regular divine weapon without an upgrade. So you don't have to worry about that, because not upgraded Metarki stuff can pop very often, even if you're a DPS or a tank or a defense class, I would say. But with upgraded version, it pops more often as if you are as a support class, but a little bit less chance if you're a DPS or defense class. So pretty much the main build for, let's say, DPS class, it will be something like that. So it's Emblems of Distraction, Emergency Maneuver Dodge, Divine Intervention, Hunt Technique, and Berserker mode. I'm using here Reactive Material and the Black Mark. Well, I'm still using that. It's gonna be when you kind of get in each bastion to that specific symbol. So pretty much in the beginning you already would have 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably 5. And here in these 2 bastions, you can use Pain Shock until you get here, and you can actually use, I would say, this first Chain of Destruction until you get to the Black Mark or the Stolen Energy. And so the support, the support setup will be something like that. Well, on a line binder, I'm using Emblems of Mercy, same thing, Maneuver Dodge, pretty much Maneuver Dodge and Divine Intervention will be these 2 symbols will be on each class. So these 2 symbols you're gonna use on like all the time. No matter what class you're playing, you're gonna use that all the time. And here's Protective Dome, Support Mode, and Awakening of Power. I don't know why I'm using that. And of course the energy, the Stolen Energy, which is put the shield on me that I'll be protected. As you can see here, I have some extra divine weapons, which these weapons you can only get in high content, and I will talk about that in a future video when you actually get to that point, when you finish with all the provinces and you became a god and all that. When you became a god, this is where all the fun starts. Defense, I'm using again Emblems of Mercy. Sometimes I can use Emblems of Protection. Same thing, Maneuver Dodge, Divine Intervention, and Reflective Barrier. There you go. Defense mode, I'm using it here and these 2. So pretty much, yeah, some symbols you using all the time, some symbols you using just for specific DPS class, specific for support, and specifically for defense classes. So something like that. And kind of a messy, I would say, the way I explained. So, but there's just nothing. Eventually you'll get all the symbols, so but kind of like give you a little bit of help in the beginning what kind of symbols to use. Definitely if you just like first, if you in each bastion, let's say you have just like one or two symbols open, so pretty much it's gonna be something like this, maybe these two open, or these two, so pretty much just like two rows like this way and this way will be open for you. But if you're gonna focus, let's say here, you're just gonna keep doing that bastion and just open that symbol, then you can stop doing here and just jump maybe on that bastion and just keep completing the hunt technique. Like you can just focus on those bastions more just to get there faster as possible. Yeah, I would say this is pretty much it for now. And yeah, just definitely I would recommend get to focus on that bastion to get to the Mirian's hammer. Really good weapon, especially in the beginning. Even just not just actually in the beginning, like you can still use that while you don't have this extra divine weapon, so you can use that for a long time, and it's a really good divine weapon. So does a lot of damage to the single target, same as area attack. So well, I would say this is it for this video, guys. If there's any confusions and you have any questions, put comment down below and I will answer on any of your questions about this. Maybe I didn't mention something, or maybe I said something that you're still confused about it. Just leave the comment below, and if you like video so far, hit the like button. If you can subscribe to my channel, I guess, if you want to see the future videos. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video and I will see you next time. Bye bye.